She appears when the wound begins to glitter, not when you're strongest, but when you're fractured just enough to crave something soft, something curved, something that will name you. Her perfume isn't real. It's the scent of your mother's absence, folded into the heat of a stranger's breath. You think you chose her, but she's older than your choosing. She's the mask the anima wears when your shadow starts to hunger. She doesn't love you, she reflects you, and the more deeply you stare, the more she becomes what you once buried. She laughs in metaphors, she vanishes in dreams, and she knows that if she touches you just right, you'll hand over the sword, the name, the center of yourself, because lust, in her mouth, isn't desire, it's memory, and you are already kneeling. If this whisper already knows, you let it echo. Like the video, leave your shadow in the comments, subscribe, and stay near the silence. She doesn't walk toward you. She emerges from the corner of your gaze, the soft blur where your certainty unravels. She moves like a question you forgot to ask, wrapped in silk and shaped like familiarity. And when you see her, you don't see her. You recognize her. From nowhere you can name, from a dream with no sound, from a wound that never bled. You think it's lust, but it isn't. It's memory. The moment her eyes touch yours, something old stirs, a boy's ache, a mother's silence, the glance that told you you're invisible unless you become what they want. She doesn't say any of this, she doesn't need to. She smiles, and suddenly you feel interesting, not real, not known, just shimmering. You say something clever. She laughs. The laugh isn't for you. It's for the mask you're wearing, and you're grateful, aren't you, because the boy inside has waited too long to be seen. But this is not being seen. This is being used by your own unconscious. Have you ever chased someone, only to realize you were running toward yourself? She doesn't seduce you. She becomes what you need. In that moment, the exact moment when your armor slips and you don't notice, not the real need, mind you, not food, not truth, but recognition, archetypal hunger. The anima abandoned in the dark, clawing her way back in with perfume and suggestion. She doesn't know you, but she wears your fantasies like a second skin. You project. She performs. A theater of mirrors. Every word she says is scripted by your shadow. Every smile a thread spun from the parts of yourself you threw into exile. You think you're falling for her. But really, you're collapsing into your own design. This is the first lie. You think you want her, but you only want the reflection of yourself she offers, back-filtered, erotic, merciful, a mother who doesn't demand, a goddess who doesn't punish, a lover who never leaves first. You tell yourself it's chemistry, connection, maybe even fate, but you know better. Don't you? You feel the illusion flexing under her gaze, the quiet suggestion that she is not here for your soul, only your image. And that's what you give her, image after image, edited and sharpened and draped in hunger. She consumes it all, and still she is hungry, because the anima does not feed on flesh. She feeds on your forgetting. The more you give her, the less of you remains. And still you call it love. You sit with her in a bar or a dream or an old conversation looped in your mind. Her fingers trace the rim of a glass. Her eyes sparkle with interest. But look closer. That sparkle is just light bouncing off your projection. There is no depth there, only reflection. Only the pieces you've refused to carry. You laugh too loud. You lean too close. You listen like a starving man, and somewhere deep inside, the older part of you, the part that dreams in symbols, is screaming. But you've forgotten how to hear it. She says something simple, maybe your name, maybe the phrase "I feel safe with you." And just like that, the illusion tightens. You mistake recognition for intimacy, archetype for affection. You think you are being chosen, but it's your hunger that's being used. She is not cruel, she is compelled. She plays the role because you wrote it for her long before she arrived, before her name, before her body, before her voice ever said hello. And what happens next is not her fault. You become the performer. You begin to edit yourself. You shave down the rough truths. You hold your opinions like knives behind your back. You become agreeable, strategic, soft in the places where once you were fire. You call it connection. But it is only containment. This, too, is projection. You want her to reflect the lover inside you so you contort until the mirror shows you what you need. But mirrors are not kind, and illusions are not loyal. She kisses you. Maybe not with her lips. Maybe just a look, a moment, a touch at your elbow in the hallway. But something inside you kneels, and you don't even notice. That kneeling isn't submission, it's forgetting. Forgetting the wholeness you once carried. Forgetting the myths you were born from. Forgetting the name that burned in your chest before you were taught to crave approval. She isn't trying to destroy you, she's trying to wake you, but you are in love with the coma. You dream of her. But the dream isn't erotic, it's archetypal. Her face changes, her voice warps. She becomes someone else and still you follow. Always follow. She opens doors you didn't know were there, rooms beneath your memories, symbols etched in steam on the mirror after you've showered. You wake, confused, erect, haunted. This isn't love, it's return. Return to the wound, return to the mother, return to the anima you tried to cage in silence. And now she walks again through strangers, through screens, through glimpses in the cafe line. You think you can own her, that if you play it right, text just enough, touch just enough, withhold just enough, she'll stay. But she doesn't want ownership. She wants integration. She doesn't want your performance. She wants your descent. And that is what you're avoiding, isn't it? The descent into the self, into the unloved boy, into the rage you polished into charm, into the scream you buried under ambition, into the real, the raw, the ruined center of you. But you won't go there, because you still think love is something she can give. And so the mirror stays, and she watches, and you vanish again. What you chase in her is not pleasure but a myth, an initiation rite your conscious mind cannot survive. You never ask where the door leads, you just follow her into it. At first, it seems familiar, her voice in the dark, her laughter echoing inside walls that feel like skin. But look again, the hallway curves, the furniture breathes, the air pulses like memory. You think it's just a dream, but it isn't. It's your architecture, your myth. And she knows the layout better than you do. You call it attraction, but it is ritual. You call it intimacy, but it is initiation. You've never truly met her, not the real her, only the one shaped by your need for meaning. She doesn't walk with you because she wants to. She walks because your psyche built her, out of symbols, out of silence, out of everything you abandoned before you learned what the world expects from a man. And now she leads you deeper, not towards sex, not toward love, but toward the red room, the one beneath all your dreams, the one you never speak of. You know the room, don't lie. It's the place that smells like iron and rain, where the walls are lined with your forgotten names, where the boy you buried still whispers through the floorboards. She leads you there not to seduce you, but to watch. You think this is desire, but it's initiation. The red room has no windows, no clocks, only symbols etched in strange, circular patterns on the walls. You don't know the language, but your body does. It tightens, sweats, waits. She doesn't touch you. She watches you unravel. She smiles, just slightly, when you begin to shiver, not from cold, but from recognition. This is not about her. It never was. She is just the scent that triggers the descent, the curved shape that lures your shadow into the open. And that's what begins to happen. Not lust. Revelation. You start seeing her face on every woman you've ever known. Your first crush. The stranger who held your gaze too long. The actress in the film you rewatched alone at 3 a.m. Her face merges and fragments and reforms, not because she's changing, but because your projection is breaking. The anima is showing her true form, not soft, not sweet, not there to please you. She is the keeper of the gate, the guardian of your unlived life, and she will not let you leave until you've remembered what you are. You think sex will free you, that if you can just have her, the ache will end. But this isn't about climax. This is about confrontation. Confrontation with the myth that a woman will complete you, that pleasure will erase the wound, that being wanted means being whole, and so you offer yourself. You speak your secrets. You reveal the pain behind your charm. You whisper confessions you've never admitted aloud. But she only watches, because this is not for her. This is for you. She is not real. She is symbolic. She exists only to trigger what the ego cannot survive. Have you noticed how your hands tremble in that room? How you become the child again, the one who begged with his eyes for someone to see him without asking him to become someone else. She sees that boy. She is that boy. The feminine twin of his scream, wrapped in skin and perfume and just enough distance to keep you chasing. That is the myth. That if you run fast enough, seduce well enough, control gently enough, she'll finally stay. But she never does. Not because she's cruel, because she's not real. She is your wound, incarnate. And every time you chase her, you reenact the forgetting, but not tonight. Not in this room. Tonight, she waits for something else. Not seduction, not performance. She waits for you to shatter, and so you do. Not all at once, in pieces. First, the smile gone, then the certainty gone, then the words reduced to stammer and breath. You sink to your knees, not from worship, but from the collapse of identity. And finally, you stop trying to be seen. You stop trying to win. You just exist. And in that moment, she kneels beside you, but not to comfort, to mirror. And what you see in her eyes is not love. It is truth. The truth that no one can give you what you will not claim yourself. The truth that no woman will ever be enough if you still believe she holds your wholeness. The truth that you have built your castle on desire, and desire is fire. She touches your cheek, gently, not to seduce but to mark the end of the ritual, because now the real trial begins, not the descent, the return. You must now walk out of this room with your wound uncovered. You must leave her behind not because she's gone, but because you've integrated her. She no longer needs to haunt you. She no longer needs to appear in strangers and muses and girls you never quite call back. She becomes silence, and that silence is sacred. But here's the twist. You miss her, even knowing what she is, even seeing the truth you ache for her. Because the myth was beautiful, the lie was comforting, and now the room is empty. Have you ever loved a hallucination? Of course you have. We all do. We love what we project, because we think it's safer than loving what we are. But now you know. The red room is still there, beneath your conscious thoughts, beneath your casual texts, beneath the eyes you lock with at parties. It waits, and if you forget, If you project again, if you chase again, she will reappear, not as punishment, as invitation, because you will always return to the red room until you remember she is not the path. She is the mirror, and lust is not the danger. The forgetting is. So go, walk out, but never run, because myth, once broken, will follow you, and her face, it changes, but her eyes never do. They still look like yours. When you surrender, you don't unite with her, you fuse with your shadow and call it love. It always starts with stillness, not silence, stillness. That particular quiet that precedes a transformation. The way the air feels before a thunderstorm. The way her gaze lingers too long on your jaw, your hands, your hesitation. You think it's affection, but it isn't. She's scanning, measuring the weight of your wound, listening for the crack in your voice that reveals where your shadow sleeps. And you lean closer. You always do, not because you trust her, but because you trust what you want her to be. The savior, the balm, the echo of a mother who never asked you to disappear in order to be held. But what if I told you this kiss will not heal you? What if I told you it will bury you further? The truth is, when you finally surrender to her, when you strip yourself bare and offer everything, your thoughts, your tongue, your breath, your spine, you are not moving toward her. You are moving inward, downward, into the core of the self you've disguised behind performance. You think the kiss is a union, but it's a substitution. It's where the shadow steps forward and says, let me touch her. Let me feel what you're too afraid to desire. Let me hunger without apology. Let me hurt her just enough to make her stay. Let me call her mine so you can sleep without doubt. And so you do. You let the shadow take your place. She doesn't notice the shift, or maybe she does, but she's too busy doing the same, because here's the hidden cruelty of lust. It isn't two people fusing. It's two shadows dancing in disguise. Her smile turns sharper, your touch turns harder, the light dims, and you tell yourself, this is intimacy, but it's not. It's ritual again, a different one soaked in possession and projection, and the silent hope that if you become desirable enough, maybe this time you'll be chosen entirely. But you never are. Because no one can choose you fully if you are not fully present. And you aren't. Not now. Not when the wound is this open. Not when the kiss feels like oxygen and terror all at once. Not when she tastes like your first betrayal and your final redemption blended, indistinguishable. You call it chemistry. You call it passion. You call it fated. But the truth is simpler, crueler, older. You are kissing your own shadow, and you love it. Because the shadow doesn't apologize. It doesn't doubt. It doesn't flinch. It consumes. And consumption feels so close to being seen, doesn't it? But look closer. What are you feeding her? Not your love, not your truth, just your ache neatly packaged in performance, wrapped in charm, glazed with fear. And what does she give you? Not herself, just attention, just reaction, just the mask you begged her to wear the moment you looked at her with hunger instead of reverence. This is the kiss that seals the wound shut, not with healing, but with illusion. Because now, you think you've won. Now, you think you're whole, but it's only because you've convinced yourself the shadow is enough. You stop asking questions. You stop feeling discomfort. You start believing that being wanted means being safe. And that is when it begins to rot. Not outside inside. You stop being curious. You stop holding her like a mystery. You start touching her like she's a solution. And she feels it. Women always feel it. The moment you stop seeing them and start using them to hold your shame, She'll smile, she'll play along, maybe even moan louder, but something inside her steps back, just a little, just enough. Because she didn't sign up to carry your shadow, she signed up to meet your soul, and when it doesn't arrive, she begins to disappear. You'll notice it in the silence between texts, in the way her eyes scan past you in crowds, in how her touch lingers on your skin but never reaches your bones. She's still there, but her soul has shut the door, and now you panic, you double down, you buy the gifts, you say the words, you touch her like a man who owns, not a man who honors. You call it effort, but it's just fear, because somewhere inside you know the kiss was never real. It was a transaction, her reflection for your attention, her body for your story, her warmth for your wound. And now, the cost is due. Your soul silenced, your shadow dominant, your truth forgotten, all for a moment of false union. And that is the final cruelty. You will miss her, not because you loved her, but because she gave you a mirror you shattered the moment you kissed her with need instead of reverence, a mirror that showed you what you could be if only you had stayed whole. You'll see her again, maybe not her body, but her eyes in a stranger, in a dream, in the echo of a song you used to play in the car when you still believed in beginnings. And you'll wonder, was it love or was it archetype? Was it her or was it the part of you that wanted so badly to be named? You kissed the shadow and called it salvation. You'll never know, but if you're quiet, very quiet, you'll feel it. The difference between love that awakens and love that conceals, between the kiss that reveals you and the one that seals you away. So the next time you feel that hunger rise, that ache to be seen, claimed, consumed, ask yourself, who is kissing her, you or the wound? And is she kissing back or just reflecting the mask? Because lust, left unexamined, becomes a tomb, and a kiss can bury you just as easily as it can resurrect. So go on, kiss her again, but this time keep your eyes open, and if you see your shadow smiling, ask it why. Ask it what it's hiding. Ask it what it wants more than her. And then listen. You might just hear the boy, the one who never got to choose, the one who loved without needing to win, the one who knew that not every kiss is meant to be survived. Somewhere, the lipstick still stains the mirror. Not the one in her purse, the one in the dream, the one you shattered with your name. Pieces still whisper. One says come back, one says wake up, one says nothing at all. She's not there now, just her scent in a hallway that no longer exists, just her voice in the pause between thoughts, just the soft click of heels behind you in a corridor that curves like memory. You never kissed her, you kissed the mask, and now it fits your face. The boy is watching, the man is pretending, the shadow is smiling, and beneath your skin, something waits untouched, unsaid, unbroken. It doesn't want her, it wants you. So go ahead, stand before the mirror, and this time, don't look away.